have a very interesting challenge in front of us. What I want to be able to do, if you look at the code that I have now, just to repeat where we are, just in case you've come back to this video after a little bit of time, is let's just grab the video. Is I click 4 times and I draw 4 different colors. Now what I'd like to do is actually draw, I click once here, I draw the first color, the next color, the next color, and the 4th color. So I draw all based on one point. So how do I go about that? Well, let's have a look at this. This is going to pick the first color. It's going to put it at radius 220. Let's put the radius up at 100. Then let's make inside here, let's just add, bear with me a second, a smaller, let's make this next one smaller. And this time we want to pick the next item in the range. So I'm just going to add 1 to that. Okay, so this is going to actually make our code crash, because when this number increases, these are going to go out of bounds. So we'll just do it for 1. So basically I'm going to draw another circle, right? Now this is just me and another one. So I want 1 for each color, 2 and 3. Okay, now what should happen is that I come into the loop, I click it once and it draws 4 circles, shrinking sizes. Let's get these widths right. Shrinking sizes, and the colors should each be picking up. First, largest is blue, then brown, then red and green, and it shrinks it. Okay, it's going to crash when I go around the loop again, because that will now be 1, and then that will be too big and it will break the bounds of that. Let's not worry about that. We're only going to do 1 click just to demonstrate this. Okay, so look at what I'm trying to do. Inside a loop, I'm trying to draw 4 circles. So let's just drag over the screen. Okay, let's put it over there. Have a look at the code. I click it, it should draw 4 circles wherever I click. There we go. If I click it again, it's going to crash because I will have gone up by 1. These numbers won't quite work. So that's a very nice thing to do. What I'd like to be able to do is click it 4 times and draw 4 colors, 4 sort of targets, if you like, within that. So how do I go about doing it? Well, what's interesting is that this block of code here is essentially a repetitive block of code. And what I want to do is use a loop to manage that in some kind of way. Okay, so if I want to manage that, I need to work out a way of how do I repeat this line where that one essentially ups that by 1 and downs that by 20. Well, inside this loop, because this loop is set out for 4 clicks, right? So let's just open up a bit of space. Every time I click, I am simply selecting a new place. Then once I found a place, I need to then consider this radius issue. So what I can do is, what's really clever about the range function is I can pass it 3 values, not just 1. I can pass it a starting value, I can pass it an end value, and I can pass it a step. So have a look at that. There's your start. Starts at 100. The bottom one is 40, and it goes down in steps of -20. That should cover that bit there. Interesting. What we then have is this issue. So I could essentially grab that line, put it inside this loop, and take that variable and drop it into there. That's almost right, but the problem is I need for this inner loop, I need to make this I go through these. So what I could do is I could, in the outer loop, I could create an index value, and the index is always reset every time you click from fresh. Okay, and then inside my code here, I could replace this with index. Okay, let's shift it over. So what it would do, let's get rid of all of these, right? or we can come back to those in a minute. It'll draw a circle with the window, the center, the radius is going to pick out of this loop. The colors are going to pick out of here, but it's going to only repeat 0. It's only going to give me blues shrinking down. But what I want index to do is go up by 1 inside this loop. So I would go index plus equals 1. So inside this loop, I now have a radius which is going to go down from 100. It's going to go round this little series of lines. I've got an index value here which is going to go up. That repeats what this is doing, we hope. The reason I'm showing you this is that there is one loop, and inside that loop I have a second loop. Now this is quite complex and powerful bits of code, and if you don't get it straight away, watch the reasoning process of what I'm trying to do. Let's test this out and see if this works. You often find with loops that you misjudge how many times you repeat it and all this kind of stuff. Let's run it. Let's have a look. So I should, in theory, if I move that over there, be able to click it, sets the index to 0, starts this loop off inside it, draws a circle based on this radius value, which should be 100. First color index is 0 is going to be blue. Then it's going to loop around here, and index is going to go up. It's going to drop that by to 80, so the radius decreases. Then the index value has gone up by 1. Okay, so the theory is it does that, does that, does that, does that. Now that is a very worthwhile exercise. You can play with the variations on this, because what this will encourage you to see are how to nest loops. That's one of the elements here. You've got one inside another. The other thing that it will encourage you to do is see how you can work a way of drawing different values from this. Now notice I have to create a separate variable to make sure I can index my way through these values, but there is nothing stopping me from actually picking those colors. I mean, that eye, look at it, I'm not doing anything with it at all. And I showed you in an earlier example that I could actually replace that with the list. Okay, and I could say just give me a color, or we could just say index. Let's just do that. Now index is not actually, when I'm thinking about it while I'm doing this, it's not necessarily clear. Let's get rid of that. So the idea is that can you go through these 4 values? Now I've just realized as I'm saying it to you, and I hope some of you have spotted it, that's not going to work, because this outer loop is only about clicking the mouse. This inner loop is about doing the behavior for the circles that you're drawing. So that strategy won't work. So what I'm trying to encourage you is to think. Now this part of programming is absolutely critical. Designing how these work, how they fit together, what they do, can be very, very taxing. But it is worthwhile for you to have a look at this type of behavior.